Today I'm going to discuss a pivotal moment in my life. While I still consider myself very young, this certain event changed my outlook on life and all it has to offer to me. High school is a stressful time for a teenager, as adolescents begin their embark on a confusing journey that can very well shape their future, for better or worse. I had a pretty standard mindset throughout high school: receive good grades, play sports, and get accepted into a good college. I'm an individual who likes to plan out every aspect of my life because I prefer to be organized. This meant that, for me to juggle sports, schoolwork, and part-time jobs outside of school, I needed to create a very organized schedule so that I may complete it all and have it go off without a hitch. And so I did. I had found the perfect equation so that I could balance all of my time between my hobbies without stressing me out too much. Everything was great. I was just starting my junior year in high school and I was more than ready to tackle it head on, or so I thought. As a teenager, receiving a driver's license is arguably one of the most significant moments. No longer will you, a high school student, have to bum rides off of friends or negotiate taking the bus to school. Having your own license allows a sense of freedom for that individual. The license is the first real gateway into the adult world. A collision occurred between myself and another vehicle while driving home from school one day. Luckily, no one was injured in this mess, but both my car and, coincidentally, my good friend's car took slight damage. After a trip to the local auto shop, a quote of $2,500 returned from the mechanic for the replacement of a new rear bumper. This was shocking to both my parents and I. As I was young and just received my license, we could not go through our auto insurance because the insurance rates would rise up so significantly, costing us more in the long run. So we decided to pay up front, and by we, I mean my dad. My dad wrote them a check for that $2,500, evading the extreme rates for our auto insurance, and then told me, go get a job. So that's what I did. I had to take fault for the accident, and therefore it was me who had to come up with the money, which I completely understood. It was very difficult to find a job in the fall because most were already taken by high school students. I ended up finding one job that would be possible to work at, but because job opportunities were as limited as they were, I had to be very open to places of work. This was by far the worst job I had ever had, and I actually had a quite extensive resume at this time. At this job, I was underpaid, treated poorly, paired with a horrendous schedule that I had to juggle with school and preseason workouts for sports. This proved to become a real challenge for me, considering all the things I had to handle that were currently on my plate. Not to mention the thought of not having any money at the time, and the thought of college on the near horizon. But it was what I had to go through to pay off my debt. About 2 weeks later, and about 2 weeks into my terrible job, I saw my friend in the school parking lot with his car all patched up. So I walked over to him and was just asking about what they did to it at the auto body. So I see the truck is looking good as new. Yeah, they repaired everything, so all is good. So what did they do? Give it a new bumper, right? No, I think they just touched up the paint. Wait a minute. There's no possible way that simply touching up the paint on a car can cost $2,500 to fix. So something is definitely going on here. And I decided later to text my friend and try and be real with him. I texted, "Hey man, I just wanted to let you know that I'm the one actually paying for the damages, so if you could ask your parents to send me over a receipt from the auto body, that would be great." And he replied, "Yeah, sure, no problem." A day or two went by, and I had not heard from him, so I decided to hit him up again. "Hey, you never got back to me about the cost." There was no reply. I had to wait a little while, but when I did get his reply, it completely took me by surprise. He replied and said, yeah, my parents said I'm actually not allowed to tell you, sorry." So that's a nice big red flag there. So after I got the text, I went and talked about it to my parents, who immediately comprehended the severity of the situation I was in. Essentially, my friend and his parents ripped me off of almost $2,500, which for a high school student is a large amount of money. My parents proceeded to try calling his parents to confront them about it, but of course, there was no answer. We really couldn't do much considering nothing was documented, as we chose to not go through insurance. I don't blame my friend at all, but rather his parents, I hope they feel really good about themselves for taking advantage of a 16-year-old with no money. The funny thing is, my friend actually goes to Penn State right now. I wonder when I'm going to bump into him. Funny. But anyways, I continued to work day after day, just trying to claw my way out of this debt. My daily routine for 3 months consisted of this: wake up at 6 a.m. and get ready to drive to school and get there by 8 a.m. Go to school until 3 p.m. Then leave school and head straight to work, which started at 4 p.m. and then work until 10 p.m., clean until 11, and then get home at roughly 11:30 p.m. You may ask, well, don't you need time to do homework? And the answer was yes. Yes, I did. But as you can see, I really didn't have time to do it at home, where it was supposed to be done. So most of it was either finished in school the next day, or went unfinished at all. I was always tired due to lack of sleep, my grades were slowly falling, and my injuries from sports escalated as I was not allowed to sit down for 6 straight hours while at work. At this time in my life, I was really not happy at all. There is just something severely depressing about working your tail off in both school and at your job, only to be handed a paycheck at the end of every week that is obviously and severely underpaid. There's something even more depressing when you don't even open up the check to see how much you earned, because you know that when you get home, all you will do is give it straight to your dad and then proceed to pass out in your bed, waiting for it all to start over the next day. And as you might have been able to guess, during this time, I was fairly depressed. My family could see just how much of a toll the job was putting on me. I was never around to see them, and when I was always too tired or never in the mood to talk to them. They also realized that I had worked off nearly $2,000 of my debt. With this in mind, my dad decided to give me my last paycheck, telling me he didn't want me to work for that business anymore. But with all of this, I'm not entirely bitter about the experience. I learned a lot about life over those few months, both good and bad. I learned that trust is a sacred thing, and that not everyone can be trusted. Coming from a person who has a lot of faith in people, this was an unnerving realization. I also learned that there are real consequences in life, and although I did not want to pursue a job to pay for the damages, I had to. Lastly, I learned a lot about myself. I've always seen myself as being much more mature for my age than some of my friends, and this event proved that assumption. I kept my head during all of this, and did my best to balance my life, which was a very difficult thing to accomplish. I'm overall grateful I had an experience such as this so early on in my life. It was a wake-up call and notification that my future may very well consist of events such as this, and I need to be able to tackle them with confidence. This experience gave me that confidence and has made me a more responsible, mature, and trustworthy person because of it. But in the end, this experience taught me that no matter what life throws at you, it is always in your best interest to make the most of it. Don't dwell on the negatives, but rather focus on the positives, and you'll be a much happier person because of it.